My dear students, let's start our class. Today, we are going to discuss a new chapter from your political science. The name of the chapter is Federalism. So, dear student, in chapter 1, you have learnt that the division of power among different levels of government is one of the major forms of power sharing in modern democracies. In this chapter, you will understand the theory and practice of federalism in India. Towards the end of this chapter, you will know about the local government, a new and third tier of Indian federalism. Now question arises. What is federalism? Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. Usually, a federation has two levels of government. One is the government for the entire country that is usually responsible for a few subjects of common national interest. The others are government at the level of provinces or states that look after much of the day-to-day administering of their state. Both these levels of governments enjoy their power independent of the other. Now we are going to discuss about federal versus unitary government. So federal government, there are usually two or in some countries more than two levels of government who execute their authority independent of each other. In a federal system, the central government cannot order the state government to do something. State government has powers of its own for which it is not answerable to the central government. Both these governments are separately answerable to the people. Now, unitary government. Under the unitary system, either there is only one level of government or the sub-units are subordinate to the central government. The central government can pass on orders to the provincial or the local government. Dear students, let's look at some of the key features of federalism. Number 1. There are two or more levels of government. Number 2. Different tiers of government govern the same citizens, but each tier has its own jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation, and administration. The jurisdiction of the respective levels or tiers of government are specified in the Constitution, so the existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. The fundamental provisions of the Constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. Such changes require the consent of both the levels of government. Courts have the power to interpret the Constitution and the powers of different levels of the government. The highest court acts as an umpire if disputes arise between different levels of government in the exercise of their respective powers. Sources of revenue for each level of government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy. And the last one, the federal system thus has dual objectives: to safeguard and promote unity of the country, while at the same time accommodate regional diversity. Therefore, two aspects are crucial for the institution and practice of federalism. Governments at different levels should agree to some rules of the power sharing. They should also trust that each would abide by each part of the agreement. An ideal federal system has both aspects: mutual trust and agreement to live together. So there are two kinds of roads through which federations have been formed. The two types, coming together and holding together. The first road involves independent states coming together on their own to form a bigger unit, so that by pooling sovereignty and retaining identity they can increase their security. This type of coming together federations include the USA, Switzerland, and Australia. In this first category of federations, all the constituent states usually have equal power and are strong vis-a-vis the federal government. And the second one, holding together. The second route is where a large country decides to divide its power between the constituent state and the national government. India, Spain, and Belgium are examples of this kind of holding together federations. In the second category, the central government tends to be more powerful vis-a-vis the states. Very often, different constituent units of the federation have unequal powers. Some units are granted special powers. Hey students, now we are going to discuss what makes India a federal country. India had emerged as an independent nation after a painful and bloody partition. Soon after independence, several princely states became a part of the country. The Constitution declared India as a union of states. Although it did not use the word federation, the Indian Union is based on the principles of federalism. The Constitution originally provided for a two-tier system of government. The union government, or what we call the central government, representing the Union of India, and the state governments. Later, a third tier of federalism was added in the form of panchayats and municipalities. As in any federation, these different tiers enjoy separate jurisdiction. The Constitution clearly provided a threefold distribution of legislative powers between the union government and the state government. Thus, it contains three lists: union list, state list, concurrent list. Union list includes subjects of national importance such as defense of the country, foreign affairs, banking, communications, and currency. They are included in this list because We need a uniform policy on these matters throughout the country. The union government alone can make laws relating to the subject mentioned in the union list. Now, state list. State list contains subjects of state and local importance such as police, trade, commerce, agriculture, and irrigation. The state government alone can make laws relating to the subjects mentioned in the state list. Now, concurrent list. Concurrent list includes subjects of common interest to both the union government as well as the state governments, such as education, forest, trade unions, marriage, adoption, and succession. Both the union as well as the state governments can make laws on the subject mentioned in this list. If their laws conflict with each other, the law made by the union government will prevail. Now, what about subjects that do not fall in any of the three lists? Subjects like computer software that came up after the Constitution was made. According to our Constitution, the union government has the power to legislate on these residuary subjects. Now, dear students, at last we have to remember some of the important points that we have already discussed, like what is federalism, federal versus unitary government, main features of federalism, types of federalism, that is coming together and holding together, what makes India a federal country, and the last three list of subject, that is union, state, and concurrent list. Thank you, student. Have a nice day.